and welcome to the 25th episode of Back Alley Chat. Gosh, we're a half a century old, a quarter century. Sorry, bad at math. All right, I'm working on it. I'm your host, Allie Severino, and today we have an extraordinary guest with us who has not only conquered adversity, but has also become a beacon of inspiration for countless individuals. She's an entrepreneur, a motivational powerhouse, an advocate against domestic violence and child abuse, an award-winning director and writer, an author of a heart-touching book titled A Short Walk to Heaven, 10 Key Steps to Heal the Brokenness After the Loss of a Child, which I read, and it's amazing. Easy read. I definitely suggest it. And her journey is far from ordinary. It's a story of resilience, transformation, and an unwavering pursuit of purpose. Latoya Perry, our guest, has faced an unimaginable tragedy of losing her own son, who was tragically taken from her in a heart-wrenching act. What makes her journey even more profound is the fact that this tragedy involved her own mom. Her path to healing and empowerment is nothing short of remarkable, and she's here to share her wisdom, her insights, and her mission to inspire all of us to turn our pain into purpose. In today's episode, we're going to delve deep into Latoya's journey, explore her remarkable achievements, and discover the principles that guide her life. So get ready to be inspired, because this conversation's not one you want to miss. And of course, we have to thank our favorite sponsor in the entire universe, Quick Intel. Crypto investors, listen up. Sorry for yelling. We all know that the world of cryptocurrency, there's risks are real and the stakes are high. Far too often, hard-earned money is lost to scammers because investors lack the tools and knowledge to protect themselves. That's where Quick Intel comes in. They're not just our sponsor. They're your crypto guardian angels. They've created a hub of AI tools, crypto safety, and security that will change the way that you invest. Picture this. No more investing blindly and hoping for the best. Thanks to Quick Intel, you can become a confident crypto trader and protect your assets from scammers. You can discover how Quick Intel can be your ultimate crypto ally. Download the Quick Intel mobile app on iOS or Android today. And of course, always show them some love. I appreciate it. I love you guys very much. Hi, Latoya.
Hi, beautiful.
How'd you like that intro?
That was a good one. It's like she has words.
Right? You have words. So after reading your book, you did such a great job just like making me feel or understand how you felt, right? Going through your different experiences. Like I just could feel your emotions and your pain and the different things that you went through when I was reading. So I was wondering, obviously our listeners haven't read the book. What was your childhood like, right? Because fast forward to 2000, was it 2000 when your son passed away?
2000.
You had kind of regained a small relationship with your mom, you tell the story. Tell me.
Well, what happened is that in 1988, my mom got strung out on drugs, and we lived in L.A., and I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and the shift in the atmosphere had been coming for a very long time because I was a child of a single mother. I got bounced back and forth between my grandmother and my mother all my life. So we lived in Philadelphia. Going back even further, we lived in Philadelphia, and when things would get hard, she would send me to Florida, so to my grandparents. So the relationship with my grandparents and the relationship with having a teen mom, it was very hectic. So, but adulting started at an early age for me because I didn't get shipped with a parent coming, dropping me off. Like, I literally would be like, okay, you have a plane ticket. I got to get you to the airport. 6 or 7, I'm flying on Delta by myself, earning my wings, scared to death.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So my childhood was very much an adult atmosphere childhood because of the shift in climate with having a teen mom and everything. And then everybody else was real adults. So there's a big age gap in my family. Like, my grandfather was 84 in 1984, and all his children were like in their 40s and 50s. So I was like the baby, and then I'm hanging around all these adults, which we understand, and I come to know that that's not a good thing because you're adulting at an adulting age when you're not supposed to be adulting. But if your parent, my mom, my aunts, everybody looking at me, not like that's the little girl, like this is our little sister. Like, to this day, I call my youngest aunt sister mama. Mm-hmm. You get my sister mama, auntie, because I'm like, you're 15 years older than me, but I spent most of my time with you, and you were like the one that loved on me all the time, and we have a great relationship. So the relationship with my mom, it was good and bad. Mm-hmm. So, and understanding, like, now that I'm an adult and understanding having children and understanding having an episode of being a single mom and everything, and just trying to navigate through life, trying to understand what my mother went through as a child, what my grandparents went through, what my grandmother went through, and learning the history that nobody talks about. Because nobody talks about, like, do you just have kids and do this, do that, and nobody really talks. They talk at you, but nobody really talks to you. Mm-hmm. The only thing that we know as children is that I know I had a great childhood. I can't deny that. Like, I was singing and acting at 6 and 7. I was off Broadway plays. I was doing shows. I say that my mother was like Joe Jackson growing up. But that gives me the determination to be who I am now, because I wasn't playing. I was rehearsing. I was learning scripts. I was dancing, like, for hours and hours upon the day. So having that from her, and understanding where the anger and where everything came from, and not really having a tight relationship with her, because I'm a grandmother raised child. Mm-hmm. And so, like, now I evaluate it. It was like, okay, the jealousy came in there. Like, because I've heard my aunts, not my mother necessarily, but I've heard my aunts, like, you let her get away with murder when I was in the teen era. You get what I'm saying? It's like, she was a totally different grandma than she was a mother.
Because she was older, right? That's what, even my dad now, I'm like, dude, you let these kids get away with murder. What happened to you? But they just get older and calmer.
Exactly. And I'm that way because I have a 10-year gap between my youngest and oldest. Oh, wow. So I understand it. My son says it all the time. Oh, you got a different mama than we got. And I'm like, child, please. So.
So you end up coming down to Florida, I guess, and stabilizing here with your grandparents?
Yeah. So, like I said, in 89, my mom got strung out. No, in 87. In 87, my mother got strung out. And I literally called my great-grandmother, who lived in Philadelphia. I didn't want to come to Florida. I never really liked Florida. Sorry, Florida. I never really liked Florida. But being raised in New York, Philadelphia, and California, I was a city girl. I never really liked Florida. And I called my great-grandmother, and I told my great-grandmother, like, the situation was going on. So my great-grandmother got with my grandmother and was like, well, I can't bring you to Philly, but we can send you to Florida. So literally at 14, I got on a Greyhound bus with twin boys that were 4 and a brand new 1-year-old baby. That was my little sister, and I traveled cross country with them and came to Florida. And then when I got here, I was like, okay, grandma, here go the kids. I got to go back and get mom. And then they was like, no, you got to slow down. Like, you're not an adult. And I'm like, what? I know what I'm doing.
Right? I know. When I was like a young adult or a teenager and younger, I felt so grown. And only now am I learning, like, God, you had no idea.
Right. Because now I look at, like, because I have grandkids now, and I look at my granddaughter at 12, like, she's really 12. Like, at 12, I wasn't 12. I understand I wasn't 12. Like, I had so much pressure and responsibility because I was trying to be a child actress. I was trying to be a star. I had my own rap group and everything. So the adulting in my head was nowhere near that. The cares of the world were far behind me. And like when my mom got strung out on drugs, I was responsible for buying the diapers and making sure my brothers and sisters eat. Something clicked inside of me, like, you don't worry about you, but you got to take care of them. And at that particular time, because our family's biracial, but my sister has blonde hair like you. And my brothers and everybody's like, oh, they're going to separate you guys, and they will put you in foster care, and you got to go with a black family, and they got to go with a white family. And I was like, no, they not. We gonna be
none of us are leaving, right?
So I took on that responsibility. Was I supposed to? No.
Right.
But at that particular time, that to me, that was the best thing to do with the situation, or we all would have been lost. So I feel like in my hearts of hearts, I talk to my brother constantly, and in my hearts of hearts, the decisions I made helped guided me to become who I am, and it created an atmosphere because I said something. I could have not said something.
Right.
We never would have been sitting here if I would have not said something. I might be in California. My life might be totally different.
Who knows?
Who knows, right?
Wow. It's so crazy how one small decision can just change the pathway of your life forever.
Forever. And then my mom came a year later and picked up my brothers and sisters and told me to act like I was never born. But again, broken, hurt. I'm the snitch. So now everybody, because my family has a tendency. I have a family that used to have a tendency. I won't say now, but everything's perfect. Everything's good. You know, the old ways of families, like, oh, we're perfect. She's acting. Life is good. And then we might be eating cereal for dinner.
Right.
But you are not going to let the world know that you are suffering in pain. And that's one thing that I've worked diligently to make sure that I get a handle on. It's like, no, I'm not okay. Like, this is not reality. So that's how it all started.
Good for you. You know, really, because it's really generational trauma and things that are just passed down over and over again. It's like, you know, my family is just like a sweep it under the rug. Something bad happens one day, the next day it's over, and then you just move on, right? But those things are then never figured out. It's just a bunch of stuff that keeps piling up under that rug.
Right.
When did you have your first children?
I had my first child after that year. I had my first child when I was 17.
Okay.
I had him when I was 17 in 91.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, traumatic, abandoned little girl looking for love, and ended up, I loved their father. Their father loved me. He was older. He took care of me, but it didn't work. But like I tell my kids, because he's passed away, and I tell my kids all the time, I was like, I couldn't appreciate your dad then, but I appreciate him now. Because literally, we lived together. We were at home, and he walked in the house one day while I was studying to graduate for high school, and he was like, you got your whole life ahead of you, and I don't want to lock you down because this is all I want. Oh. And I see you can have a bright future. At that particular moment, I was like, bitch, we got 2 kids. Right. You should have told me that.
Right.
2 years
A few years ago would have been better timing, buddy.
But again, getting it together and figuring out, and God had blessed me with a good relationship after that carried me and the kids for a while, but I still had baggage.
Right.
So we never released the baggage, but I'm still going on. Thank God I was cute. I still had baggage.
Say that all the time.
Pretty privileged.
Right? So at what point did you bring your children to California to stay with your mom?
No, how that happened, I was literally here.
Okay.
I never went to California. I lived here, and time had passed, and she came down to visit. Because my grandmother was here, they were talking and whatever the situation, and my family was like, oh, your mother's coming, you need to have a conversation. And I was like, nah, that lady don't like me. And they was like, oh, she loves you, it's your mom.
That's your mom, of course, she's always going to love you.
You got to be forgiving, you got to do the right thing. And she showed up. And a part of me wanted my mother. Of course. And a part of me was like, because it didn't happen in an instant. Like, she was down here for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I was really struggling because, again, I was out of a relationship. At this point, I had my oldest son and my daughter, and she came down. So I'm reverting because it's not like she came down and just took my kids. She came down and took my oldest son first. But something was going on with that situation. And then I would say in the middle of that situation, she called back. You know, that's when we had the big cell phones and all of that. And I was like, oh, your son acting up. And she started cussing. And I literally now I have to get myself together and buy a plane ticket to fly to California to get my son. And tickets were like $1,000
Oh my
back then.
gosh.
We talking about 80s.
Wow.
We in the 80s.
Wow.
So, and I might work at a telemarketing firm at
Right.
this point in my life. No real skill. Okay, so going through that, ended up sending for my son, and I told my family, I was like, I told you that whole crazy. Like, I don't know if you cuss on your podcast.
We do. You're good. You're fine.
But being real, I was like, I told y'all that she was crazy. I told you guys this is what was going on and everything. So I'm like, and that situation occurred. After that situation occurred, we came back. He came back. Time passed, and now I'm no longer at 2 kids. Now I'm at 4 kids.
Wow.
So, and
How old were you at this time?
Oh, I don't even remember. I just know I had them. Like, I'm old
Young.
as hell.
You were young then, though.
I was young. So we got to look at, okay, 98. I don't know. You can add it up.
Right. I'll do the math. I'm not good at math. I just told everybody, isn't that great?
Because I'm 27 now.
Oh, right. Yes. So you were 3. She was 3.
Yes. So with her coming back the second time, the situation was a whole lot harder on me, and they was like, well, give her a chance. You have more kids. Like, she's changed her life. They used the God factor again. And then I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to take a chance. And then we had came to an understanding because now my brothers and sisters were getting older, and I wanted to spend time with them, let them get to know me, like, because I know them, but they don't know their older sister. And she ended up taking them. And within 3 months, she ended up beating him to death.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it took you 2 days. When I read that it took 2 days for you to find out what had happened to your son.
Oh, yeah. So the situation with that is that she had already started being angry and disrespectful by phone. But again,
To you? Towards you?
Towards me about my children. But
Okay.
I'm in Florida. You in California.
Right.
So the goal was, like, I had went up and picked up my oldest son in October. I was going to take all of them, but she literally, like, begged me to let the youngest one stay because, again, the oldest was acting up and everything. So I removed him from the situation. And then, like, I was supposed to get my brothers and sisters because school in California is, like, 3 months in, 3 months out. So we were trying to develop that relationship.
Yeah, that bond.
That bond in that relationship. So with it being out. So I was literally supposed to pick him up like February 1st, and I didn't. And I was like, okay, I'll just pick everybody up and we'll go to Mardi Gras on our way back because I wanted to do something fun with him. And literally I was at my boyfriend's house and my pager went off and it was crazy. It was like something emotionally going on in me that day. I was just dragging that day already. And then I called my aunt, as I say in the book, and then she was like totally upset. But we knew, like, and I said to her, I was like, what happened?
Right.
And she was like, what you mean what happened? I'm like, what happened? Like, did she break his leg or arm? Because my mom was, like I said, like Joe Jackson. She was verbally abusive. She was physically abusive towards me. Everybody thought I was crazy because when you see me, I look perfect.
Right.
But for real and for true, it wasn't perfect. And with her seeing that she changed and with the reality of the conversations that when we have talked, it been so aggressive and hard and manipulative that it pushed me to a point like, bro, like, Yeah. And we were on our way. To know that we were on our way to get him, and it was like crazy. And so, like, she gave half of my address and half of my aunt's address. Like, she totally manipulated the situation where they couldn't find me, but they could find me. And by the grace of God, a friend of mine, girlfriend, worked at DCF here in Florida. And we were really good friends. And she was like, I know this kid. I know this family. I know this child. Like, no. Like, and that's how I found out.
And so your book begins with the newspaper article, you know, and I thought that was such an important thing that you said, that basically your son was reduced to this newspaper article that didn't even show if anyone like loved him, you know, like just and obviously they didn't have the information. They weren't able to contact you, but you know, it was sad to read that, you know, because obviously that wasn't true. He obviously had a lot of people who loved and cared about him. So how did you, so you went there and you were met with your stepdad,
Yes.
right? And he was not very kind.
And he didn't know the situation that had went on. Again, my mother had him on the outs, told him her version of events. If in the version of events, I'm the most horrible person, the DCF sent my kids there, which was all lies. So anything that can make my mother look good and make everybody else look bad, she was into doing situations like that. And to be approached by my father, who I felt like once loved me, and the police took up for me. Because sometimes you have to be quiet.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And back then, I was really rough around the edges. As I talk about in my book, like God has said, like...
Right. I mean, you were chill. You were running the streets, right? You were kind of selling drugs and doing whatever. Kind of. You were we're two retired drug dealers at this table, you know?
Yeah.
So you were getting after it, you know? And so I'm sure that the first thing you want to do is like find your mom and murder her yourself, right?
Look.
So to even have that poise.
The way God stepped in the whole situation, because the whole mental aspect of it was that I was there. Right. I was literally there. I was like, literally, I'm getting ready to go to California. I'm going to find my son homeboys that are Crips, and I'm going to get me a tool, and I'm just going to handle this, and I'm going to kill everybody. That's what I felt. That's where my energy was. Did I say it to anybody at that particular time? No. I was walking around numb, because I had been through so much in my life that it pushed me to a point that I could do this.
Right.
Like, even if I had to go to jail get you, it didn't matter anymore. You get what I'm saying? Because I was already like an inch away from already feeling like my life was not a good life. Like, I literally set myself up for my children to be financially stable, living a life of crime, doing everything I had to do so that they can have a future. But I knew I was going to end up two ways. And it feels like once you make that decision within yourself that you're going to end up like, I'm either going to die in these streets or I'm going to feds for the rest of my life. And once I made that decision and I was at the money, that's all I knew. So at that particular time, to have this going on in my life when I'm already, oh, shoot.
Is there another phone?
That was this one, and I have it on silent. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So after you get out to California to try to see like what's going on with this whole mess, they took all the remaining children out of your mom's house. So now this is something on top of that you have to deal with. It's not only that your son was just murdered, but you lost you had one other kid or two other kids with her?
No, my youngest son. He's 26 now. But he was actually only one at that particular time. So I arrived to California. I get turned around at the airport. I arrived late. I'm already thinking she's incarcerated, but she wasn't. And by the grace of God, by me getting there late, it was like we missed each other for 20 minutes.
Wow.
No more than 20 minutes. Like, they literally came back because once they did the investigation, because I really didn't know what happened.
Right.
I wanted to assume it was an accident. I wanted to assume that it wasn't as deep as it was, but it was really deep. And my son died on a Tuesday, and they didn't arrest her till that Friday.
Wow.
Because of all the investigation that they had to do.
Right.
And when I finally raised enough money to go on that Friday, me and her missed each other like a thief in the night. And that's why I talk about in the book, God's blessings, God's savings, God, like, thank God I had the grandmother I had.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So it was a numbing experience. But I talk about how God plants angels. Because when I went earlier to pick up my son earlier in the year, I had bought all of them toys, and it was a neighbor that owned a toy store, and they welcomed me, and they helped guide me through the process.
Right.
Because at this particular time, I think I was 26, 27.
Wow.
And I'm not supposed to be going through nothing like this. He was like, who do you talk
Still
to about?
a baby, really. Really, who do you talk to about that?
Who do you talk to? Like,
Yeah.
who can you call?
Right. Oh my gosh. So you end up back in Florida. How long did it take you to get your youngest son back?
Oh, it took a whole year.
Wow.
So I literally know. So how the process went, I got there. I actually stayed with the neighbor. The neighbor took off work, took me to all the appointments. I had to go to a hearing. And when I went to the hearing, and I'm thinking that they're going to give me my baby, they was like, because if you could let her keep your child and this happened to your child, how we know you're a good mother? Then on top of that, I got so many charges in Florida. Okay, batteries, and more batteries.
Right.
Because I've always been a fighter.
So they were like,
like, maybe the apple don't fall too far from the tree. So, and then I had to go through the process. Like, I literally went to court, got a hearing date, had to come back to court, and literally come back with my dead child, bury him, and then go back and start fighting for my baby.
God, and there was no Zoom court back then.
None.
No, these are all, you're paying for all these tickets, and if you don't show up, that's a wrap.
Yeah, that's a wrap, because you're not a good mother.
Right.
You're not a good mother. You could just say, let go. So in the midst of it all, and then I have two older kids, and like I said, my oldest son never really told us what was going on until Jordan died, that how she was treating them and manipulating him. And then my daughter, she was like, but that could have been me. But it was just so much to deal with and try to be a parent, try to be a child, try to grieve, try to be a mother, and fight for another child. So you can put your family back together and be broken all at the same time. So,
wow. Gosh, that's just it's so intense. It's so much to deal with at one time.
Yes.
And so how did you find yourself coping? You said you started drinking or
no,
what?
I was already drinking.
Yeah. So what did it look like for you? Because it took time, right, for you to get out of this. But it was little steps along the way that kind of changed you.
Because
right?
I always knew I could be happy. Because I remember being happy. And I'm like, what is going on that this is supposed to be life? And I'm surrounded by the streets. I'm surrounded by people that don't have hope. But I used to try to offer hope. Like, I ran into one of my loyal customers the other day in Walmart, and she was like, regardless of what, you've always been good to people in the streets. Yeah. And she was telling me how she got off of drugs. And I was like, I'm very proud of you and everything. And she was like, but you always was nice. You always was good. You always was loving. And I've always had that in me. And regardless of the exterior and what life had brought me, I still had the ability to love. I still had the ability to care about people, even in mess. And people I might not should have been caring about, but just trying to get a little bit of love for myself and carry for them at the same time. I've always put myself in those kind of situations. Yeah. So, no, my life was numb. Like, I stayed drunk, I stayed high, I stayed in my bubble. But at the same time, I didn't express or talk about my emotions. I just went through it because the only thing that I thought was, like, as long as I could provide for my children, that I'm a good person. And long as I gave them the best of everything, I'm a good person, even with all of this stuff going on. So the journey of the healing journey started because I just felt like God didn't love me. I was like, fuck God, fuck this, fuck that. I was fuck everything.
Right.
You get
fuck it all.
Fuck it all. And I can honestly say that that's where my space was. But at the same time, I'm raising children. At the same time, I have bills to pay.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? At the same time,
Kids to feed.
Kids to feed. Okay, trying to avoid federal indictment.
Right. Right.
Trying to be me at the same time and just get through it. Just get through it. Just get through it.
What were some, like, do you remember the first turning point where you believed that God was there for you and like felt his love or that acceptance, or what was that experience for you?
I didn't feel that. I actually didn't feel that because I ended up in a bad marriage, a good bad marriage, like I say. And I literally went to church with a friend of mine, and I hadn't been in church in years. And this is since our transition, moving to Palm Beach. I'm married down here, and I was 35. And I went to church, and my jaw was broken. Like, literally, I'm sitting in church. My ex-husband had broke my jaw, and I felt the Holy Spirit come across me. And I always thought shouting was fake. I did. We used to play shout. We used to play shout at grandma's house. So I always thought it was fake. And literally, like, the Holy Spirit came all over me. And I was literally shouting in church with my mouth wired shut. What? And couldn't control the joy and the love that I had in that moment. But I realized that, like, often people say it takes you to get to the lowest of low, of low, of low, to finally understand that there is a God. Right. And then I started on the journey. It's like, okay, I'm not going to do this no more. I'm not going to do that no more. And it was a little baby steps.
Yeah.
And with the little baby steps, the devil couldn't use me no more. He started using the husband, couldn't use the husband. He'll use the children and everything. And by this time, I just had to stay focused. I always tell my children, it's called sitting on your hands. Like, I didn't know how it was going to work out. But I knew what we had already wasn't shit. You get what I'm saying? So why not take a chance, and why not try to move life in a different direction? Right. And as time went on, it's been a journey. Like, it's literally been a journey. Like, I look at my life, like, my son, a couple of years ago, he was crying. And I was like, what's wrong, the baby? And he was like, I remember when we were struggling. I remember when we were going through this and that, and life's so good now. Oh. And I know that's because of the choices. And like, I was talking to my oldest son today, and I was telling him, I said, I had to stop telling y'all what to do, and I had started to be showing y'all what to do. Right. Because I know that I started noticing that you guys were trying to follow my lead of things, and I made it look easy. Right. Like, I like lived a double life.
They didn't know the burden you carried every day.
Right? And again, that comes from having an acting background, because literally by day, I'm mama. By day, but at night, I'm Tazzy. You get what I'm saying? Like, my children didn't even know I sold drugs. They were like 13, and they just thought I did hair. Like, I call them Malibu's most wanted. So, y'all go to private school, baby. You don't know what's like. So, wow. Yeah. And then I went back to school. Like, I made hard choices. I made hard choices. I was like, I had to break my own heart and get out of that marriage. I literally, like, went and stayed in a shelter to put myself in a predicament that I didn't have to worry about the responsibility in order to build my life back up. And I caught the bus, I rode the bus with my child. My son used to sit in my classes, and I went to school for film. Awesome. And then my first film, it won the grand prize at the film festival, and God has been blessing my life ever since. It was like I had to take a chance on God. Right. I really had to take a chance on God, because the way I was doing it, it was going to cost me my life. I felt like I was going to die in my marriage. I felt like I was turning into, like, I was one step away for just being that person. Like, that wouldn't be sitting here now. Like, because the devil kept giving me things like, oh, you're not going to turn yet? You're not going to turn yet? You're not going to, And then my aunt, she was like, you've lived the life of Job's. Though he slay me, yet shall I trust him. And with me accepting, trusting God in all of it, it's given me the ability to be forgiving. And it was like, it was crazy. Like,
So when your mom came up for parole, right? So that's kind of where your book ends-ish. There's a couple more chapters, but towards the end, but you never say what happens, because at that point you're thinking, do you? Because maybe I was just at work and people were driving me nuts, but because I'm thinking all this time goes by and they wanted you to show up in regards to her getting released, right? Or
you didn't read about the part where I went to California.
I did, but you didn't get to see her because all those charges.
Yeah. So we got there. We got there with that situation, and I didn't get to see her. And everybody in the prison was like, "Oh my God, like you're here." They would come out, like the guards, even the warden came out.
Wow.
To see me, and I needed that just as much as I needed it. I did it for me.
Right.
Like I didn't do it for anybody else. I did it for me because time had passed, and then to see how in the 20 years, the 15 years, my brothers and sister life direction it went. My sisters, you're like, oh, I don't have a mama. I'm like, bitch, I ain't had the same mama. It's no different.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? To see the manipulation where my mom's telling her all these things to keep her focused and keep her close. I literally have to tell my sister, like, she could tell you what she want.
Right.
But this is the reality. I am the reality of what she really, because I remember getting whoopings for not telling the truth. But then to realize the people that's whooping you ain't telling the truth.
Right.
Like, bitch, what's going on? So to be able to navigate, God wasn't ready for me to do that in that moment, and then come back to Florida and then work on myself. Because when I first got the phone call from my brother, I was like, fuck no, fuck that bitch. Da 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 da,
Right.
da da da. Forgive you from afar. Then God was like, oh, how you gonna say you want me to forgive you, but you can't forgive? And I'm like, bruh, like when God
So
told me,
annoying.
right? Like, really, this is what you telling me,
Right?
So I had to revisit it, and then I had to go through the hearings of the old wounds, and then the defensive little girl in me was like, "That's not what happened. That's not true. That's not what's going on." And then as it went on, it created a relationship because she tried to use my brother to talk to me, to pull on my heartstrings to see where my heart was at. But then it just turned into a situation like, bruh, tell her to do this. Tell her to do that. This is what's really going on. And me being real with it. Because the one thing that I value my character in, that I'm going to give it to you as real as I can. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. My kids say I'm too blunt all the time with it. But life is life. And this is reality. In my perspective and version of events, if I'm wrong, I'm adult enough to say I'm wrong. But I know in order to get to peace, to get to love, to get to the physicality of just being genuine and being able to live off of grace, you got to be real with it.
Right.
You just
Totally.
got to be real with it. You got to look those demons in the face, and you got to be real with it. And that was a lot of therapy.
I bet.
A lot of marijuana. A lot of drinking.
Right. A lot of everything.
A lot of everything.
Right.
To just get to a point where like, are you going to own it? Or are you just going to put a Band-Aid on it?
Wow.
And God has put me in positions where I just can't put a Band-Aid on it. I gotta deal with it. I gotta address it. I gotta look at it. I gotta do the work. In order to get what I asked him for, I gotta do the work.
And I'm sure after that moment of forgiveness with your mom, you saw just an abundance from God in your life.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? And like, did you feel lighter? Like, did you feel different after you decided to forgive her, or?
Not at first, but it came through the actions of how my life developed. You get what I'm saying? Like, it came through because materialistically, I can have everything. But my soul was piss poor.
Right.
And to have the ability that I'm enjoying, I can look in the mirror and like me. Because I never could look in the mirror because I look so much like her. So that's why I was like, oh, I understand why Michael Jackson changed his face. Like, if I had a check, I probably would have changed mine, okay? But
I love it.
I love Michael Jackson, guys. I love Michael Jackson.
We all love Michael Jackson.
But to have these comparisons and to read these stories and understand this might be my own particular story, but the emotional attachment, the things that's going on, the things that are dwelling within my soul, other people can relate to and to find healing in it. I just wanted my kids to have a better life. I seen them moving in a direction and that I was like, Right. And it was no longer, it stopped being about, oh, woe toy, oh, la la, oh, woe toy. Like, oh, that's the girl who mama killed her baby. You get what I'm saying? Those not the things that I wanted to be attached to me.
Right.
Like now in my legacy, I want my grandchildren to not know about what happened. Not because it's a secret.
Right.
But not to be able to have.
That's not the main story of your family anymore.
Yes,
you know, because you have become a very successful entrepreneur.
Yes.
And that will be, I think, your family legacy. You know, you brought these new values in your household that you talk about, like bringing this new way of life back home, you know, that was different. And everyone's resistant to change. No one more than me. Like, I hate it.
Right.
I have to change my office. I'm like, ugh, like, I don't want to do, you know, whatever. I just have like issues with it. So, but yeah, you brought this positive change to your family, even when it was hard and difficult. And maybe people didn't want to go along with it with you at first, to get where you are today. And you don't only like have a film. I mean, you got a restaurant, you own property, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah. You own property, you got a restaurant, you got a movie business. I mean, girl.
Yeah.
Wow.
But again, God has never forsaken me in my finance. But to be able to have the balance with my soul and my finance is the blessing. You get what I'm saying? Because I done been rich, I done been po, I done been po. I done been po. But God has always provided for me financially. And the doors that he has opened since the forgiveness and living in my moment now has created a life worth living. Has created a path worth being on. Like I'm like, oh shit, y'all don't let me figure out like what's next. Like I told my son I want my grandchildren's grandchildren to know my name. In a positive way. Like I'm on some Walt Disney kind of stuff right now. It. So and for me the book was therapy to get it all out and to go through it, because it didn't happen in the instant. She didn't get released the first year. She didn't get released the second year. God had to work on my spirit and on my soul and pull me to a point, because I was at no, hell no, fuck no in the beginning. You get what I'm saying? Totally. And as he worked on me, and I was like, what is this serving? What is this serving? I see my sister all discombobulated. I see my brothers torn up. They 34. I was 44 at the time. I see what it is doing and what it has done. And what I can't do is participate in it. I can't participate in it. I can't be angry, because God sits high and look low. And whatever he got, like, I wrote the letter. And once I wrote that letter, and I was like, if y'all feel like that she's chemically balanced in her head and she got it going on and you feel like you could trust her in the world, my grievance is that she shouldn't be around children until she gets psychiatric care, because at the end of the day, do I feel like this she meant to kill my child? No. Did she meant to hurt him to make me feel bad? Hell yeah. Really, you get what I'm saying? So, but you didn't know it was going to go that far. But God revealed it. because I often tell people, I was like, my baby, he didn't have that much life, but the life that he did have, his life was a chosen vessel to prove, to be a reality check and tell the truth of who my mom really was. Because I've been telling y'all for years, y'all ain't want to believe me. And you wanted me and the adults in my family, you wanted me to say, give her a chance and give her a chance and forgive and give her a chance.
Right.
But this will happen when I ain't go with my gut. The one thing that my life has taught me, Allie, when my gut say something,
Totally.
I don't care how close of a friend you are. I don't care if you my daddy, my cousins, or whatever. You my right hand person. If my gut say no, I'ma do a no.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a strong no.
Right.
Because I've always had people around me like, okay, we'll do it. We'll go in this direction. But my no's is no's and my yeses is yeses now.
Yeah,
So.
that's amazing. And you're so right. Sometimes you just can feel it, and you can't always say why you feel that way. It's not known. It's just a instinctual thing. What advice would you have for parents who have lost a child, you know, whether it's to drugs or gunshot or whatever it is? Like, obviously it takes a long time to feel, I don't know if you ever feel better. I've never lost a child, you know, but what advice would you give them towards healing?
Just take it one day at a time and grieve. If you sad, be sad. I didn't have an opportunity to grieve till like 7 years ago, like for the whole process. Because again, I didn't know what grief looked like and how to deal with it and everything. I had to get up. I had 3 other kids to feed.
Right.
And had to fight for one of them. So I didn't have that whole, I'm depressed and
I'm gonna lay in bed. I'm not gonna go to work. Right. Yeah, totally.
I ain't have none of that.
I know.
I didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
So I just, like in the books, I give steps. And it's like, if you need to cry, 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 cry some more, cry again, cry, cry. And take on the day. If you feel, and stop the day. Like, don't rush nothing. If your child was murdered, forgive them. You get what I'm saying? You can be angry as you need to be.
Right.
But eventually, in order for, if something's going on, notice your life. You get what I'm saying? Because if you're living in anger and meanness, something's gonna mess up in your personal life.
Right.
Like
Totally.
Like you might be wanting to get a job. You might be a good person trying to get the best job, got the application in, the resume is fire, and it's not coming through because you got that one thing going on over here within your spirit of hate.
Right.
And having that hate in your soul messes with your real life.
Yeah, it messes with your relationships with everybody. Because how can you be so angry, and how can it not seep into just every aspect of your life?
Every aspect,
right?
And that's where I'm at with it. So, like, I have a friend. Her son died. She read the book. I have a friend that got the divorce, and I told her to read the book because she was mad at her husband. I was like, girl, read this book. And then she was like, I got to read. I was like, yeah. And then when she read it, and I was like, it's just for you. Like, everything is truly for you, the individual. It's not about, forgiveness is not about the other person. Right. None of it is. Like, so to be able, I just shared my story because all my friends was like, oh, you need to write a book. And it was therapy.
Right.
Because when I wrote the book, I was right there going through the emotions. Right. And I didn't want to, it wasn't supposed to be a tell-all. It was supposed to let me show you how God changed me. And let me show you how I went from hell to back, and he walked me through. And I didn't even notice at the time of him walking me through because I was so caught up in my emotions and in the moment of things that I didn't even have time to notice. But to be able to sit back and reflect on that time in my life and understand where I am now, it's like, wow. Right. Like, you know this girl? Like I told my friend, because it was like you're my first podcast I ever did with a book. Oh, and a lot of people been asking me about it and everything. But I was like, I'm not even her no more. Like, we got some other shit to talk about.
Totally.
Let's get to the bag.
Right? And one thing you talk about too is service. You know, service helps channel some of that frustration and anger. You know, even for me, that's something that I'm really big on. And I thought that was a great advice to give people too, you know, to just get involved and like, if you're frustrated and do something about it.
Do something about it.
Right?
Do something about it. Just don't sit in your mess.
Sit in it forever and just do nothing. Because I've seen people spiral and they never, and you know, not only do they lose that person that passed away, but they lose everything else. Yeah. You know, they give it away. Yeah. And even when with forgiveness, you know, the first thing I tell my friends to do, and I do myself when I am like just want to kill somebody, like when I'm just so mad at an individual, I have to sit and pray for them. You know, and even my biggest enemies in the world, I have to sit there and go, God, just give them everything you give me and more. Like, even though I don't want to say that, but you know what? It is such a freeing experience once you do that. Right.
You know, you be like, why? Like,
why not?
No, like I just had an episode the other day that I got a phone call and they was like, you got some haters. And I was like, how the hell? Like, he was like, but guess what? God had you in the room at that particular time to be able to call me, to make me aware. But at the end of the day, I don't care. Right. I don't care. I no longer live my life based on other people's opinions. I used to live my life like I had to be a perfect Patty. I was telling my friend the other day, it's like, hey, bitch, I used to wake up and do my makeup before my husband wake up. Like, how perfect can you get? So funny. But that was but that was the thing. Like, I'm from that generation. You can't be successful and have a man. You can't be this and be that. You can't have this and have that. And now I be like, you can have that, all of the shit.
You can have everything.
You can have everything you put your heart to and your mind to. Yes, are you going to sacrifice and lose? Guess what? Those people ain't meant to be there. Right. It wasn't for them. Because when you get to where you trying to get to, the people that's going to be there going to rock with you. Right. And you're going to have fun.
Yeah. Totally. I love that. Totally. So what's your future look like? Latoya, what do you got working on now? And what's your like biggest passion right now? And you know, where are you headed?
I'm headed for love. I'm headed for balance. I'm working. I own the Solely Seafood Company. It's on Riviera Beach, 127 West Blue Heron. Y'all come see your girl.
Go stop by.
Chef Ooh La La is in the building.
Love it.
I'm working on that right now.
Your restaurant.
Yeah, my restaurant.
Awesome.
Because I'm trying to create an atmosphere. I offer quality seafood in the community. My motto is from boat to table. Again, food, love, eat, pray. I'm on that. I'm enjoying my customers. I have a lot of people coming from out of town, and
really,
and we just hang out, and I feed them good. Again, service. Service. I try to be of service. Like customer service is number one at our restaurant. And I want to turn it into a landmark where you can come party and hang out and everything and just have a good time. Like, I'm working on that. I'm working on a new book.
Awesome.
I'm working on a new book. It's more of about getting to the bag.
Cool. Awesome.
Securing the bag.
Yeah. What suggestions do you have for that?
Tell us the secret. Focus. Commitment. No sleep.
Right. For real.
But understanding that and just enjoying my family and living a good life. Like I'm about to borderline on this 50, this big 50. So I'm just having fun with it.
Yeah, but you said you just got back from Dubai.
Yes.
Girl.
Yes. It was hot. It was hot. That is my Dubai accent. It was hot. Like, what's the temperature? Hot.
Did you ride a camel or do anything fun?
I did not. No. I went to the club and drunk every night.
Okay.
That's why I'm that girl. I was half naked. They was like,
no desert camels.
No desert camels. I rode a 4-wheeler, but I do that
Oh,
here.
that sounds fun. Me too.
Yeah, I own a motorcycle, so
Really?
yeah, I do all of that here. So, but yeah, what did I do? Yeah, I went to the club every night. Like I was
had
in
a great
the club.
time. Yeah, good
it
for
was
you.
a vacation. Like everybody was sending me the posts like, "Oh, don't go there and cuss these people out," and everything. And I was like, "Why are y'all trying to imprint that in my soul?" Like,
Let
we
me go
know
have
you,
fun.
Lala. Your mouth is your mouth. But no. Besides them losing my passport at the hotel.
No.
Yes.
No. Oh my God, that's so scary. What happens if you lose your passport in another country? Are you stuck there?
I don't know. But
Oh my God.
I handed it to him. I handed it to him, and because I was trying to live my best life, I didn't pick it right back up.
They were trying to hook you up with a Saudi prince or something. They didn't want you to leave.
I had the prenup in my bag. I went there for that specific purpose. Like,
I'm with you.
like Janet Jackson got what? Oh,
Right.
I'm a cousin. Like,
Right. Hey, nice to meet you.
Listen,
awesome.
So that's what I got going on, and just living.
Yeah. Well, Latoya, I hope that when your next book comes out, which, girl, that has to be a process. Miss Lisa, who I met you through, my boss, she was telling me she's been getting on me to like write a book, and I just can't. I guess I don't feel like there's an ending to it yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess I'll get to an age or a time where I feel like there's things that can be talked about and it can be a complete
Well,
thing,
see that I view like I told my friend the other day, start viewing your life in quarters.
Oh.
That was like I view my life like basketball games. That was like second quarter in that season.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
That's a good
Because it's
point.
like your teenage years to your 20s to your 30s. That book took me 10 years to finish.
Wow. Yeah.
You
yeah.
get what I'm saying? 8 to 10 years to finish. I don't even really know because I had finished writing it and then the wounds got opened back up, and I didn't want to release it, and I was feeling a certain kind of way.
Were you scared or nervous? I don't know.
I was just.
I would.
I didn't want to put it out and it not be true.
Right.
That was the only thing. I don't want to be a fake or fraud or phony. I didn't want to say, "Oh, you gotta forgive," and then and then I learned I wasn't really. I was forgive as long as you over there and I'm over here.
Right.
But to get to the point where I know you're walking the streets and I'm walking the streets and I can get a hold of you at any particular time and you don't cross my mind, that's a totally different kind of forgiveness.
Right.
So that was the issue with me putting it out because I had to make sure, because I am my own test dummy, so I had to go through the process. It's like, okay, is this person going to be able to, even though I wrote this letter, they're free, and now we're going through the process of my brothers calling me and telling me what they got going on and what she got going on. And then like, why, she need to call you and she need to do this. And I'm like, she don't need to do none of that. Again, we don't know where her mind at, where her ability, where her heart is. She might not be able to ever look at me again.
Right.
I accept that. But again, the angels. I know God done blessed me with so many powerful women in my life to get me to the point I am now. And I feel like everything comes in seasons. And it's like her job was to get me here. She was the vessel.
Totally.
You get what I'm saying? Her job was to take me as far as she can take me in her ability to teach. And then God blessed me with other women. And it was crazy because I was thinking like that. And then even Oprah came out with a story on her magazine. It was like, my mother only got me so far, but these other women is what got me to who I am becoming. And on Mother's Day, I celebrate like 9 women.
Yeah, totally.
You get what I'm saying?
100%.
So
100%.
I know when they say it takes a village, it takes a village. And for me to be who I am and all I am.
Right?
And all I am. And I ain't perfect. And I'm cool with not being perfect. I'm clumsy. I eat sloppy. You get what I'm saying? I'm clumsy as hell.
Clumsy eat sloppy. Not the worst.
You get what I'm saying? I'm a workaholic sometimes, but then I'll just shut down and be like, no, I'm not doing nothing. Like I told you, I'm not doing nothing today. I look at the phone, like the phone rung now. Why are you ringing today?
It's my day off. Yeah, you're crazy.
Yeah. And people might think I'm crazy. People might think I'm cool. People just do. They can think what they want. I just be me.
Yeah.
And God has given me an opportunity now. My kids are grown. My grandbabies are gorgeous. Life is good. And I don't really have any worries. You feel me? And if worries try to come up, I'll be like, all right, God, get your shit. Get this shit.
Yeah,
and
you're real good at that now, huh? Hey, I got one for you. Dude.
They called me. No, you need to be calling him. Don't call me. So that's where I'm at with it. And I'm enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about this new chapter and where it takes me. I have no clue. I know what I want. If it happened, it happened, but it might be bigger, smaller. Because I ain't even think about
different.
it. Yeah. Because even with the cooking, I didn't want to be a chef. Like, okay, I gave myself the chef title because I was running with the big boys.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, okay, all right, I'm good. So you get what I'm saying? So God blessed me with the opportunity. If you would have told me 20 years ago I would be the crab queen and seafood and it up, I'd been like, hell no.
No, totally.
I was paying people to cook for my children. So it's like, hell no. So life is life.
Life is crazy.
Life
and
is
you never
life.
know where it's going to take you.
Yeah, you never know. And just get in the passenger side and just enjoy the ride and stop stressing. Like, stop stressing. I don't stress.
Yeah.
And if I do try to stress, I'll be like, devil, get behind me. Like, bro, I'm finna go have a drink. Like,
You are funny, Miss Latoya. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope when you come out with your Get the Bag book, you come back, and I'll read that one too. And I think you're awesome. I think you give a lot of people strength and hope, and you're so resilient, and that's something we need more of today.
Yes.
Is resiliency. And I just really appreciate, I know you're busy. I appreciate you taking the time and coming and hanging out with us.
no, I'm never too busy for you. Okay.
Guys, I love you all so much. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Comment down below. And if no one told you that they love you today and that they believe in you, I do.
I do too.
Bye.